You know, when I play guitar, I mean, that's my identity. When I go up there, I'm like, I know why I'm here. These other folks, they're playing too, so we're a team. And when we have our small group, I feel like that maybe they don't consciously think about that, but, you know, they walk in and they see, oh, their sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so, and we grew up together, and we like the same things. And that's just a powerful thing when you get picked. And I feel like when the need was there and it was met, we were picking them. We were telling them, you are important, and that's powerful.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Between Sundays. We are so glad that you have joined us for, you ready? Our 50th episode.
5-0.
Yeah. Thank you for that crazy applause. All of you driving down the road, put your hands back on the wheel real fast. Don't do that.
Yeah,
don't applaud while you're driving down the road. But this is our 50th episode. Can you believe we made it 50 episodes?
Hey, Ken, you know the secret of podcasts? Yeah? I know I've said this, but I'm going to say it again, okay? There are millions and millions of podcasts, but really there's only 40,000 that are consistent. So when we started this journey, we said we are going to be consistent.
Yeah.
And here we go, 5-0.
We made it to 50.
Yeah.
And we're not finished.
No.
We got more to come.
Come on.
Right? But we're excited about number 50.
Yeah.
And we have some cool stuff. You know, the last few episodes, we've been doing something a little unique.
Okay.
And spoiler alert, we have some amazing guests today on this episode. Mm-hmm. I've been, we usually do like a really fancy introduction to our guests, and Pastor's the professional introducer.
Went to school for it.
Yeah, he has a degree in introducing. Mm-hmm. I'm not that guy, so I'm just going to spoil it right from the top that we have some amazing guests, and Pastor will introduce them later. But I have a really important question that I need you to answer right off the bat, okay? And so we're glad to have Marty and Amy Elkins.
Marty and Amy Elkins. Welcome,
this isn't their official. This is not official. This is unofficial introduction, okay? Everybody calm down out there. The real one's coming in a moment. But I have a question for you, brother and sister Elkins. If you are in a conversation, and you guys, pray about who wants to answer this first, but I would like to hear from both of you. If you're in a conversation with someone, just say, in the lobby on a Sunday morning, right? And you're having a conversation, and as you're in conversation with this, person, you can smell that their breath is not very good, like they have bad breath. Like what is your next step in that moment? Like, what do you do in that moment? And Amy, I feel like you have like a burning answer right now. And so I'm very interested. This is a personal thing. I'm just trying. Yeah. So what do you do when you're talking to someone and they have bad breath?
I'm usually the one thinking, do I have bad breath?
You think it's like,
I'm thinking,
am I smelling my own breath?
No, I'm too concerned about my own. I may step back a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe step back a little bit.
You take a step back.
Tad, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Marty, what about you? What are you going to do?
Well, I know we're not on camera, but I do have Altoids right beside the microphone. So I might offer someone an Altoid.
You would take a step and possibly. Okay, so what's the differentiator there? Like when would you do it for sure, or when would you not?
If it's someone I know very well, I would.
Yeah.
All right.
Most of the time I would not, but I might just sort of shake the bottle.
You would give like a little
hint.
Okay, not a verbal cue, but just some kind of cue there. Yeah. Okay, I got it. Somebody said one time, if you're ever trapped in a conversation, I shouldn't tell this because I actually use this sometimes. Okay. If you ever feel trapped in a conversation, that if you will put your hands in your pocket and rattle your keys, it's like a trigger to the brain that you have to go. And so it's a way to tell them like you have to leave by rattling. It's like a psychological thing.
That's impressive.
So just to be clear, I don't always do that. If I rattle my keys and I'm talking to you, it doesn't necessarily, but it could very well mean that I really need to go and I just don't know how to tell you. It sounds like we have a couple of different approaches to the bad breath deal here. I bring that up. I've asked that in the last few episodes when we've had guests because I'm just genuinely intrigued by how people respond to something like that, right? And we get a variety of answers. You guys are a mixed bag here, right? You take a step back, you potentially offer a mint or just give them a little rattle of the Altoid. Ironically, sometimes we wonder, do people actually listen to our podcast? I've done this question about 3 or 4 episodes now. This past Sunday, someone walked up to me as they came in the door, and they handed me an entire bag of mints. And at first I was like, I didn't even connect the dots. I was like, and they were like, "Oh no, I'm listening to your podcast, the podcast." I'm like, "Oh yeah." So shout out to John Jackson for the entire bag of mints that I've been eating those quite a bit. So, hey, Pastor.
Yep.
This is your time.
Okay.
This is your moment.
This is the one I get school for. Okay. We are so honored, so privileged to have with us Brother Marty and Amy Elkins, right? The Elkins.
Okay, time out. Let's just do that. We're not going to edit that out. I want to let people see you're human. Like you make mistakes. All right, start it.
So we are so honored and so privileged to have Brother and Sister Elkins with us, Marty and Amy, and just a pleasure to have you. Let me just kind of let you know how important these people are. I appreciate them because they really operate in a lot of different ministries. They help us with our music ministry. Sister Amy, you actually teach in Lead Academy. Brother Marty, you've actually served on our board in our church. We've traveled the world together. Yep. They are just a blessing. But what we're talking about today is a very important system that we have in this church, and it's called PEAK60. This is for our elders and for those amazing people. I'll describe those in a moment. They lead this group. And so, Brother and Sister Elkins, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll say one more thing too on the intro. I'm not trying to take, I'm not trying to butt in.
Go for it.
But Marty is also a killer guitar player. I mean, like for real. So
thank you.
If we were going to list the accolades, he's actually taught. He's done,
great teacher. Yeah,
Amy's taught as well. So we could just keep.
Could we just do an episode about how amazing they are?
Yeah, I mean, we really could. I told them before we started recording, they really do make us better as a church, and we owe a lot to them. And so thankful for them. You happen to lead a particular group. And it's I can get real emotional about this group because of what they mean to the church, what they mean to each and every one of us. There were incredible families. When you've been ministering and pastoring as long as I have, you see, life come and go, and you see these incredible families. You can call them legacy families. You can call them pillars. You can call them foundational families. They are what makes the church grow, and they're what makes the church stable and strong. And this PEAK60 group, those that are over 60 years of age, just amazing how they have loved this church. We're so blessed with this demographic. We're very healthy, spread out. We have some young families. We have some older families, but this particular demographic is such an amazing group of people. You lead them. You lead them with such great heart, and so we're just so grateful for them. So I just want to have a conversation about that because sometimes they can be forgotten. Sometimes we're not singing their favorite song. Sometimes we're not even focusing ministries on what meets their needs, and yet you step into this arena every week, and you do things. You go on events. You talk to them. You hear their heart. You do things that minister to where they are. And so I'm just going to be again asking the question, but what inspired you? Really, what was it that began to say, we would like to lead, shepherd this group of people? That's a very interesting question because it's so important, but it does take a unique individual and a unique gifting to do that. What was it?
Well, it's funny, your introduction was cracking me up, but it still made me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? My pastor, has praise for me that way.
Yeah.
That was validating, right?
Thank you.
And, at the heart of what Marty and I are trying to do with the PEAK60, it has to do with validating another person's life. That you exist. And we see you. And we want to know who you are. And, I thought at the essence of praise and worship to God Almighty, really what we're saying is, God, you exist. We believe you. We believe in you. We believe that you're there. Yeah. And not only do we believe you, we see you at work. And look what you've done here, God. Look what you did for me there, Lord. And every time we do that, God is saying, they know I exist. It's the existence that God wants us to say, look, I exist. And the Bible says, we're created after God, like we're in his image. Yeah. And I think in our DNA that we take on that, hey, validate me. Do you see me? Oh, there you are. the lessons you've been teaching in small group, like there you are, that's validation, that's saying you exist. And then you think about the elders of the church. They've lived their lives, they've done things, they've had purpose, they've worked and been successful, and they've had experiences. And all of a sudden now, as they get older, their worlds become smaller. And I just put myself in their shoes. Like when I get there, when I get to be their age, my world becomes smaller. And will people know what I've done? Will people understand what I did when I was in my 30s? Do they know my successes? Do they know what God has done for me? Do they know my testimony? And I think when you look at that age group, not in a bad way, I guess, we're so busy, middle-aged people, young people are busy living their lives, fulfilling their purposes, reaching for success and working towards it, that we tend to forget the older generation who's had all of that and then no one to share it with as they get older. And so for me, the ministry came absolutely on the foundation of wanting to validate a person's life. That's really it. Just validation.
I love the word that you said, and Brother Marty, I'm going to you next just to answer the same question, but I love the fact that belonging matters, being seen matters, feeling like I belong here, I live here, these are my people is so important to a healthy church. And that's not just for newcomers. That's for people that have walked through this door 1,000,000 times. They need to feel like I still matter.
Yes.
And that does take intentionality. So good. Brother Marty?
So obviously when you hear Amy speak, you see her heartbeat. I was just, we'll be transparent, I was a little different in the way I approached it. I'd kind of reached a point where I felt like I needed to be involved. I didn't quite know exactly where to be involved. I had some things that I wanted God to do for our family. And so I basically said the next thing that I'm asked to do, I'm going to say yes. I felt very impressed to do that. Not, that's a scary thought.
That could be a big yes.
That could be a lot of things, but literally, it may have been a day or two later. It was this PEAK60 idea was kind of floated, and I thought, I have to say yes. So I did, and in that process of saying yes, it's unlocked so many things for me personally, for my family, for the seniors in our church. And so I guess I would just encourage, if you're in a place where you feel discouraged, you feel like you're maybe uninvolved, you don't know where to get involved, just open your heart and be willing to say yes, because God will place an opportunity in front of you. And so that's kind of how it started for me. And obviously I was on board with everything Amy said, but in my heart, I was just like, I need to say yes. And I don't care what it is. I suppose I could have cared what it was, depending on. But when this opened up, it was very obvious that this is my first yes, and so that's how it started for me.
Can I'll say this, Brother Marty. Again, we've had some really meaningful conversations, and I want to be respectful to some of our private conversations. But you're a pastor's son, okay? Right. I mean, you know the ins and outs of church life, and you've seen the ups and downs, the good and the bad. And you've been privileged to see all of that front row seat, so to speak. And yet, just a truth of what you're saying, there is a connection for us to continue to say, God, what's your will for my life? How do I honor what you're doing? Yeah. It's incredible.
So, question for you both, either of you. So, as you guys got involved in it, I don't think you've ever led a seniors ministry before, right?
Nope.
No.
So
we've always been youth oriented, right? Literally youth oriented all of our lives.
And to be clear, you guys are not in this demographic, right?
Let's be clear that we are not in this demographic.
No, not quite.
We tell our PEAK60 people all the time. They know.
Yeah.
We all know.
We don't belong here. We're leading this.
We're here for you. Yes. We're not here with you. We're here for you. But again, hearing their heartbeat, and again, we've had the privilege of working together through all this, and I've been able to see it up close and just knowing your heartbeat. Is this something that I'm hearing your reasoning why, and then how you got involved, Marty? Like, is this something that's just continued to grow? Because it's been what, 3 years?
3 years. Can you believe that? Yeah. 3 years.
Crazy. So is this something over the last 3 years that you've seen like grow? Like the desire for it, the passion for it? Is it?
Yeah. I have to say that I came in with a major passion for it. Like God had already been dealing with me about the older generation. I had, outside of the church, like I would go to the nursing homes and play bingo with them. You know, it was a thing that God was really wearing me out on, actually. So when this opportunity presented, it had been in my head for a while. I had seen a need, right, with the elders of GPC. And I thought, what can we do to meet the need, right? That it had been outside of the church, stewing in my heart for a while. What was the question?
Well, just like as the passion's just grown through.
But it certainly has.
I feel like I've seen you guys get linked up with this, right?
Yeah.
Yes. How can you not? I mean, the souls, the people that we're around all the time are just the most beautiful, encouraging. Like I say all the time, Marty and I both say, they do so much more for us than we could possibly do for them. Like going to a PEAK60 small group is just like a therapy session for me. They love me. They love my family. They listen to my heart on a weekly basis. They pray for me, my husband, my children, and they pour into us. In our discussions for small group, I come away wiser because they're giving their wisdom. We tell everybody, you need to come to a PEAK60 small group session because you are getting just fed years of experience and testimony. I think we have the best seat in the house, honestly. Yeah. It's a beautiful experience.
We don't offer as much as what we get back. But the passion, I mean, we're a team. I mean, we've always felt that way, whether it be in music or ministry. We've made an intentional effort to be a team. So once we both got involved, we've grown. We've made friendships. We found out that they're like teenagers.
Yes,
you get in
they
a
are
room
like
and it's
teenagers. PEAK60, you're like teenagers. We love you.
They're like kids, but it's great. I mean, it shows that I'm in my mid 50s, but it shows me I want to know what the next phase is like, and that's a front row seat for me to see that there's still fun and there's still excitement and curiosity. I don't want to lose my curiosity, and I see in these seniors that we lead that they have all those elements. So it's comforting to know that.
Yeah.
One of the touching things is a while ago, they snuck you guys into the youth room and through a surprise, honoring of you guys. And I was so moved and so touched to see the outpouring of their love and affection for you both, and just trying to let you know how grateful they are. Your labor is not in vain. You're touching and ministering to lives. So let me ask a question this way. You just said they're like teenagers. Okay. There are unique challenges. There's unique opportunities with that age demographic. For all of us that don't get the privilege to have the front row seat, can you describe some of that? What are the challenges, opportunities of ministering to a PEAK60 group?
Well, one of the challenges is just the demographic. I mean, they're at the point where the activities that we do, they have to be tailored, a lot of times to that age group, which is fine. I think the purpose is just to continue to do activities, but obviously we're not gonna go on a 5-mile hike with our group, but we'll jump in a van, we'll go eat. We do things that they're able to do, and we ask them, and we've learned over time there are some things that work and some things that don't, and so we stay toward those things. So that's just a kind of a pragmatic challenge that you face. Nighttime driving and things like that. You have to think about all those things when you lead a group of seniors. It's not like a youth group where doesn't matter what you do. You can hike, you can stay up all night, you can drive 20 hours, and they're down for that. But we have to be mindful and conscious of our group and what we can do and what we can't do. And that being said, it's not really a challenge in the sense of it prevents us from doing things. We just have to be smart in what we do, and we have to lean on them to let us know, what they can do. So I would just say, like, just a base level challenge, that would be something that I would feel.
Yeah, I agree. Really, that are the things. I don't have anything else to add to that. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's not many. They're easy to lead. It's an easy dynamic, but we just have to understand where they're at and where we're at, and we have to tailor make.
Let me ask you the second part of that. Just opportunities. Like, the challenges are probably limited, but what I love about conversations I've had with you is you guys are always presenting opportunities for ways that we can either honor or recognize. So share some opportunities that we have as a church, as people to see, validate, appreciate these amazing people.
Mm-hmm. Well, opportunities, like we have really, we'd like to do more of this in the future, but we have stepped out and tried to use PEAK60 in the other demographics of the church. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For instance, we last year we teamed up with the youth, actually, and we had we actually exchanged nights. So the youth came to our PEAK60 small group, and they led the music. We had a youth speaker, and that speaker spoke to PEAK60 about the challenges that their generation faces. And then likewise, PEAK60 came to a youth group, and one of our PEAK60 seniors spoke about the challenges that their generation faces.
Oh, my.
And what the powerful thing that we all came away with is, interestingly enough, the common factor both groups realized that insecurity, believe it or not, was one of the things that both groups felt. It was like a grand social experiment. And that's the knowledge that we came away with, that both groups spoke of insecurity and feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
Where they're at.
Wow.
That was a powerful moment, I think, for everyone involved. That was like a victory, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I think the beauty lies in the fact that all the demographics can meld together and unify as a church.
You need one another.
Yeah.
We need people. Yeah.
Again, just hearing you, my mind is racing around a lot of things because, one, they're like a wellspring of experience. They've been through things. They're faithful. They're here, right? They've endured some things, and so they bring a lot of wisdom. But you guys have been able to create. It could be your events, or it could be your just the way you guys structure. But you guys have really created a sense of community. Like there's a bonding. There's really a brotherhood, sisterhood connection there that's authentic. And I see this when I'm around that. When I sense that, having conversations, watching them, the interaction. How do you do that with seniors? Like what is that you guys do that is causing that community? Because again, some of them are single, widowed. I mean, a lot of them are finding chapters in their lives that this is new. It can be a hard road, a very scary road at some level, right? But yet you guys are finding a place for them to find a purpose community. I'd love for you to just discuss, what are you guys doing to do that?
Well, at the beginning of the podcast, I spoke about validation. That really started the whole chain reaction, I do believe. I think that group mentality is like, I think that no matter where they're at in life, whether they're widows or couples or, what age they are, I think it is my observation that they all gather around their age. Like it's about their age. Yeah. And we have created a space where their age is celebrated, and they're proud of that. Or I sense that they are. I suppose you'd have to have a PEAK60 person come and speak, to that fact. But what I am seeing, my observation is that they are grouping together via age. And little things like, when I first came to GPC, I watched the elderly people because I wanted to say, is this a place that I'm going to be comfortable in? We were trying to find a church, and I watched them, and it seemed to me that the elderly people were on board. They were encouragers. The music going on, of course, it wasn't what they grew up. It wasn't their traditional or whatever, but they were in it to win it. Like, I felt that from them. And so on the flip side of that, though, now they have a group. I mean, we sing we sing the songs that they sang. We've taken them to several like Gaither concerts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That music that it's beautiful.
So good. Love it.
Reverend Billy Wayne.
I love it.
It is. It's wonderful. And that is them. That is their generation. That's their age. They rally around what they've experienced, and so, we try to do those kinds of things. Again, it's catering to their experiences. That music, when they were growing up, I think about the music that has touched me now, and I think about myself as an 85-year-old woman, not being able to hear that particular music anymore, like in a church setting, because what happens in music is it's like a testimony. I can remember when I hear certain songs exactly where I was in my life and what God was doing in my life. And every time I hear that song, it's a testimony that wells up in my heart, and I begin to praise and worship. And when they don't have, those old songs like that they were used to growing up, they can't remember in a church setting those songs. You know what I'm saying? So we provide opportunities for those old songs. When we do have a piano in our small group, we'll start, have like a little church service really where we sing older songs and from the 80s.
It does build their community. It does open them up for sure. Marty, any thoughts?
Well, I just think, it's the worst nightmare everyone's had is when you go to school and you go to gym, the first day of gym, and they're playing, dodgeball or basketball or whatever. And everyone starts to be picked, and it's getting down to where there's not many people left. And your biggest fear is always, I don't want to be the last person picked. You're so scared of that. And I feel like that sometimes in churches, in life in general, the senior population is kind of the last person that's picked. Wow. And so I feel like that when you offer a group specifically for them, that's inclusion. That's powerful. Yeah. When I play guitar, I mean that's my identity. When I go up there, I'm like, I know why I'm here. Yeah. These other folks, they're playing too, so we're a team. And when we have our small group, I feel like that maybe they don't consciously think about that, but they walk in and they see, oh, their sister so and so and brother so and so, and we grew up together, and we like the same things, and that's just a powerful thing when you get picked. And I feel like when we started working, and it wasn't just us, but when all of you guys, and the need was there and it was met, we were picking them. We were telling them you are important. Yeah. Yes. And that's powerful.
Yeah. I love that. Because there's so many thoughts rolling through my head. Number one, I think you guys have absolutely hit the nail on the head in how you've included the seniors, the PEAK60, the way you have strategically created a sense of community, not just a sense of community, an actual community there. The way they interact with each other. When I walk in on a Sunday, there's multiple areas where you see PEAK60 with their hands on the plow, serving and working in the kingdom. They're not just showing up to church, like they're involved. Yes. They're actually making this happen on a regular basis. And I would say a major part of that is because they feel like they belong, right?
Right.
They feel like they have ownership. They feel like that this is not just a church that I attend, but this is my church. This is where I'm at, my family's at, whatever. And I think that is a part of that is because of the community that you guys have created with the PEAK60. Uniquely enough, our church, the average age of our church is about 39 years old. And so it's tricky, right? Just talking candidly as church leaders, it's tricky because sometimes we're not able to, from abroad, hit the target of a PEAK60, which is why I think this is so important. Because I also see them buying into something that they may not say, well, that's not how I would necessarily want it, but I believe in it. Yeah. And that is so healthy, I think. And then the other thing, there's this word rolling around in my head. It's intergenerational fellowship. Intergenerational fellowship. Good. And what I see that you guys are passionate and striving toward is not segregating the 60 plus over into their own little group, but you guys are passionate about integrating them into the culture and the dynamic of our church. And I've seen that the way you've done that with Bill and Amber and VSM, right? And I love that. I think that's so healthy.
Absolutely.
And that way, when somebody does come and whether they retire in Nashville and they come to a church and they say, well, let's just be real. Do I just want to attend church until I die? Or do I want to go somewhere where I can actually thrive and I still have something to offer the kingdom?
Absolutely.
I feel like you guys have given a place for that. And it's inspiring. What I would love to see more of is on the other side. You guys are creating this culture of that. I would love to see more of us embrace that intergenerational fellowship to where, the Bible says to stand up in the presence of the aged and show respect for the elderly. I would love for more of us. I'm speaking to my generation and below, to where we really carve out time where we get across from elders and we learn from them. And you said it, there's so much to gain from them. And I'm telling you, if an elder comes to me and says something positive, and they are so kind and they have so much to offer, I'm telling you, that is a validation like no other. When a senior comes to you and says, we're praying for you and you're doing a good job and we're behind you, like, I wouldn't want to be at a church where we didn't have that.
No, and I think the words of Scripture really ring true to this. Is when Paul is telling young Timothy, a leader, and he says, Timothy, I want you to entreat the older ladies as mothers and these older men as fathers. I'm just going to give everyone a secret. When you offer and show respect, demonstrate respect, there is an openness, there is a truth that bonds you. I think part of what has made people successful here in this church is when they do that, when they honor that verse, that principle, that we're not powering up, we're not, showing our leadership badge. We're basically, we honor you as a mother, we honor you as a spiritual father. I hope and pray, again, that our elders feel that. I personally, again, try to demonstrate that and, again, defer to them and honor them and respect them and look up to them. All of that it is a truth. It's not made up or not put on. It's an honor that you give them, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a church. If it wasn't for their sacrifice, right? And they believed in a church, even though they just didn't know how it all unfolded. They were committed when there was hard times in this church and things were not sunny and good. They were faithful. They showed up. They brought their families. Like, I honor them again, and I'm so grateful for them. My thought is racing like that. I wonder how many of our PEAK60s will even listen to this podcast, right? Yeah. Like, I want to say, man, maybe we're
send it straight to
like,
an email. Yeah,
we're gonna text us to
I
you.
will link them up, and they will be listening. I'm sure.
So if you're listening, PEAK60, let me tell you, because you've been given the tools to do this. Let me tell you, man, thank you.
Yeah,
man, I'm so truly grateful for you. Your love for God, your example, your compassion, your understanding, your grace that you give all of us. Thank you. I pray God's best upon you. And I pray that God continues we need you. I want you to hear me. We need you. You're so valuable to the health, the strength, the future of this church. And I hope you sense that and feel that.
Marty, Amy, before we wrap this up, why don't you just share a couple of stories or testimonies from the ministry from PEAK60 that highlights just the impact, some of the great things that are happening. Just inspire us with a couple of stories.
Okay, I'll start, I'll be careful here. I don't want to necessarily name names, but we did have a couple folks that had came from somewhere else, and one of their biggest
life transitions.
Yeah. One of their biggest fears was when they got here that they wouldn't be able to duplicate the community that they had before, which that's a legitimate fear. You always take that risk when you move. So we were able to help them to find that community and get them plugged in, and they've been very, very faithful to everything we've done. I wish I could. I won't give the names, but they're just a hoot. I mean, they're a lot of fun, and we've just saw them just open up, and they've really been so encouraging to everything we've done. We see their love. It's empowering and encouraging to us. So that's one thing that I've saw.
This is hilarious. I won't name names. She knows who she is. But I was taking home PEAK60 lady one night after church, and we were speeding up the ridge, and we got pulled over by a car.
Oh, no.
And she leaned over the seat and said, "We've just been to church. We've been to church. Don't give us a ticket. We've been to church." And we didn't get a ticket.
Wow.
Oh, my word.
I call her Thelma, and she calls me Louise. You know why? She knows who she is. Probably everyone knows the story in PEAK60.
I have never heard that story.
Oh, yes.
That is crazy.
Sister, a.k.a. Thelma, got us out of a ticket that night because we went to church.
Yeah, that's
PEAK60
awesome.
knows how to handle the police, let me tell you.
I'll tell you a story I recently heard that would be related to PEAK60. You said, Amy, at the beginning that they want, as all of us, they want validation or to be seen, right? And I think that's true. On the reverse of that, I think they also are able to do that for people. And so I was in my small group, and there's a newer family in my small group who we were talking. The question in the discussion was, who is someone that you know that just embodies a there you are? And this newer family begins to open up about some of their first experiences at GPC, and when they first came in. And I won't name everyone. I'll withhold names too. No, actually, I'm not going to. I'm going to give credit to it. And they said that Brother Tom Kellogg, every Sunday that they walked in, had just this glow, like a there you are, and he's a thriving PEAK60
He is a
member.
thriving PEAK60. We lean on him heavily. Thank you, Tom Kellogg.
He's in the foyer on Sundays, and he's not the only one. There's plenty. But it was a PEAK60 that this young family that fits into the average age of our church that said it was because of this guy that we felt like, okay, this can be a place that we would stay and raise our family at this church.
So beautiful.
So it's not just hey, we want to be validated, but no, it goes back to they want, their hands are on the plow here. They're involved. They see it. They get it.
100%. Yes.
Can I add to that? So a couple months ago, I was preparing for a message. I felt very strongly prompted by God to conclude that with having our elders come and pray for these people. You may remember that service.
Remember, yes.
And I'm telling you, as I'm calling them up, I mean, lights are coming on. I mean, and man, they're like marching like soldiers up there, and they begin to pray. That's a service I won't forget.
Yeah,
there is just a connection and such a truth. They have an anointing that is so valuable and crucial to any healthy apostolic church. Don't underestimate them. Thank you guys for your great leadership. Thank you for loving them. Thank you for caring for them, validating them. And man, so much appreciate what you do. There's no way we can thank you enough. But again, God knows, and God bless you.
Yeah. So definitely appreciate all that you guys are doing. One thing that we always end with is we'd like to challenge the listeners. And so I'd love for you guys to offer a challenge. What challenge would you like to offer to our listeners? Again, we're talking to GPC people. Which challenge would you like to give them?
Well, one other thing before we do the challenges, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Brother Nate and Sister Alicia Hollis. They help us in every way, and they're
Love you guys. Love you.
They are very, very much a part of PEAK60, and we couldn't do it without them. But as far as a challenge, I would just ask that just don't let the senior group be invisible. They're not scary. Go up and talk to them. Ask if you're struggling. You don't always have to go to maybe the strongest, most spiritual looking person. Find someone that's been there and done that, because that experience is a wealth that can't be matched. And we've got so many folks in our church that would love to give you advice or to kind of help you along your way. So next time, find a PEAK60 member and pick their brain, because they would love to talk to you.
Excellent.
So good.
Well, we always end with Amy, you have something. You don't have to raise your hand. Just
I
jump in.
have a trivia question.
Here we go.
What does PEAK mean? What does it stand for?
Ooh, nice one.
PEAK, P-E-A-K.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I can make something up really fast.
Yeah. We're lost.
People enjoying
People with experience and knowledge.
Ooh, got it.
Yeah.
People, experience, and knowledge.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Yeah. Don't drop it. Don't actually drop it.
No, I will not. Hands off.
Well, that's great. So in case they didn't know, people,
We know now.
experience, and knowledge. Love it. And I think you guys, spoiler alert, like you guys are trying to come up with some cool merch at some point, like for
Yes, we are.
PEAK60.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, when we go on our big old trips, everyone's asking Marty and I if we could go for a weekend somewhere.
Oh boy.
Come on, somebody.
Come on now. Come on now.
Hey, we have a youth retreat. We have a
Yes,
PEAK60 retreat.
PEAK60 retreat. Yes.
I could just see you guys in Gatlinburg getting the tie-dye shirts
Yes.
like PEAK60 was here.
PEAK60 logo. Yes, it's happening. We're prophesying.
That's right. Well, we end every episode with one of our volunteers' favorite verse. And so, Pastor, you have one of our amazing volunteers' favorite verse. Who you got?
Yeah, I want to just say, hey, thankful for the Jackson family, the Jackson Five. Just a shout out to them, just stepping in, helping with our first impression team. I think the Jacksons were helping in our nursery just this past week. Yep. Just loving families, loving kids. Just super grateful for all that you contribute. But John, your favorite verse is Joshua 1:9, and it reads like this: have I not commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. Thank you, Brother Jackson. We're so grateful for you. God bless you and your family.
Love you, bro. Thanks for the mints. And thank the rest of you for listening to this episode of Between Sundays, number 50. We'll catch you next time.